Hi, welcome to The Pursuit of Truth. It is still the 13th of August 2018. Just on the back of that last podcast when talking about the conversation I had with Rodney G. Wow, I don't know, can you call it a conversation if you don't actually speak face to face with them? It's a written conversation. The comments back and forward. So he made me quiz the idea of well, he was talking about Gav being conspiratorial, that he must be to hold the view that all the scientists are lying, about the Earth being a globe. So it made me think there's always been one of the things that I've struggled with is like the why of why would they go about doing this, but also the practicality of. Well, the thing is when people say that to you, you instantly think of like thousands of scientists all around the world propping up the globe. Whereas I don't know actually how many scientists it is. And they're like, for me, look, you could talk about how many billions of people believe the globe. Well, I used to believe that it was a globe, but I never did any independent research or any thinking about it. I assume I was taught at school or I saw it on television. Yeah, I don't really know. I assume it must have been at school because I remember we did a project. I remember I really enjoyed that project. I'd do this, it was a big poster thing of all the different planets in the solar system back, I think, when Pluto was a planet. And I drew them and I put the details. I remember I had this book as well. My dad had Cosmos, obviously by Carl Sagan. But I had this book which was about the solar system. I used to love it. So yeah, that's where I got my information from. But I never independently researched it. I wasn't actually standing up for it per se. So I guess that's the same with the scientists. This thing, as we say scientists, it's a bit like saying Illuminati or they. There isn't such a body as of these people. I mean, there are scientists, but you know what I mean, they're not a collective. So I don't know how many of them have independently researched the planet that we're on, the plane that we're on, the realm, the existence, whatever. And who it is who would be able to actually say that, yeah, we are actually on that place. I don't know, because a lot of it is looking around you and, a lot of, some of them they use the heavens above, as it were, the sun, and how the shadow, changes from distance to distance, that Greek thing. I don't know what other people would use. How would you prove that the Earth is a globe? If you weren't to use photographic means. Maybe there's some maths involved in things and etc. But I expect a lot of it is taking on for granted things from the past of people who have told you. I suppose the only real people who could actually quantify the Earth's global flat would be people who have been high enough up to be able to see it, because that's the only real way you could actually prove it, isn't it? Those would be the astronauts, and there's not many of those, is there? So that's always the problem, is the lie. Are all these scientists actively lying? Well, no, I don't think scientists are actively lying. I don't think they even considered it much. Like I and billions of people around the planet haven't ever thought about it, haven't even questioned it, because it's already been laid down as fact in the textbooks at school by NASA. But that doesn't, like we've proven before, that doesn't, just because it's laid down as fact doesn't mean it is. My example that I gave Rodney G, which he sort of thought I was going off topic, was, look at the lie that Tony Blair and the governments around him at the time, all those MPs, the George W. Bush and the governments around him and all those, what do you call MPs in America, senators, they all believed in the lie of the weapons of mass destruction. Now, I don't know who came up with that lie, whether it was one of them, whether it was somebody else that passed the lie on to them and they believed it. But the fact is, we know it was a lie. There was no weapons of mass destruction. There was no weapons of mass destruction that could be launched in 45 minutes. We know that intelligence was faulty. So, and then how many people around the world fought in that war? How many governments joined that alliance against Afghanistan and Iraq? How many people, believed the truth, that was the truth? Now we know it isn't. I'm sure there's still people that still believe that it was true. But that's proof that it is possible for you to be fooled, to be lied to. And they could keep that lie going because they could just make sure in their textbooks, I don't know, how do they talk about Iraq and Afghanistan? Do they say that it was that George W. Bush and Tony Blair lied to the public, or that they were lied to and they gave out information that proved to be incorrect? Do they even quantify that? Or do they make out that it was a just war? And over time, you keep telling that. Remember, the position of a lot of science and whether the Earth is round or flat is hundreds of years old. So if you keep telling a lie for long enough, all the people who knew it wasn't true are dead, and then the only thing that comes out is the thing that's written down. Of course, nowadays that's difficult because nowadays we all have that capacity. Like now I've recorded this, and assuming YouTube lasts hundreds of years, people can listen back at this and hear, what I'm talking about. But of course, if a textbook has it in it and it's been printed for hundreds of years, it won't matter what I've said because no one will believe me. So maybe that's how a lie is easy to tell. But yeah, I was just thinking about that and I thought I'd make that point. But I guess the main thing I wanted to also talk about is that it doesn't matter really understanding where we live is very important. But my main issue is that the way we live is wrong, and that's what we need to change. If we can change that, it'll change everything. Because if we live a life where that we all are free and we all are true in the sense that that we stop all this foolishness of money, of possessions and all that, and the way that we live and us against them and categorizing things and all that kind of stuff that I've talked about previously. If we live a life where actually we're all one species and we live for each other and try to progress in the best way of things and not wasting our time on unnecessary things like manufacturing hundreds of different things and making money for charities and having 1,000 different charities all doing the same thing. If we all actually work collectively in a better way, that's what I think is important. The other things will fall in. But now I'm starting to think that when I talk to people, when I see things, I see this. Is it an impossibility? What's the chances that people will actually want a new world? Is it too difficult to get that new world? Or it's just going to have to happen on its own? Something will have to happen, and then, like I mentioned before, some kind of war, some kind of cataclysmic event where there's only a few people left, and we have to hope that the few people left aren't going to make the same mistakes as before. But maybe it's impossible. I don't know, it does get frustrating when you think about the way we all live, and surely we can all see how we live, the majority of us, that it's not the best way, but nothing's done about it. Maybe it's just too difficult. It's like banging your head against a brick wall. Anyway, take care, take it easy. God bless and peace.